Everyone does it. Everyone knows it. It's the neutral wiggle. Everyone shakes the stick. The worst thing you would want is to think that you are in neutral when you're actually in gear and let that clutch out. You could cause an accident. The car could lunge forward and hit the car in front of you. The shifter mechanism utilizes rubber bushings that will wear out over time, giving you sloppy shifter feel. Upgrading the old worn out shifter bearings with polyurethane can give you a sportier, notchier shifter feel. The two that were in desperate need of replacement were the rear shifter bushing and the pivot bushings. The only set I didn't install is the linkage bushings. Those are probably the hardest ones to get at. If you remove the whole entire unit and mechanism to do a short throw shifter, the other three bushings can be installed without removing the shifter. Open the lid on the center console and pry upwards on the plastic console, pulling it up over the e-brake. The wiring for the side mirrors and DCCD control will still be hooked up. Just place it to the side without unhooking anything. The leather shift boot is held on by a button, and that can come down over the detent ring. You can lift up the shifter bezel. It'll come out all in one piece. And just work the leather shift boot over the shifter. There's one bolt here. It looks like a 12mm and a 12mm nut. We're looking for play in between here and here. Torque solution. Feel the torque, baby. These are plastic and they're definitely going to take up a lot of the slop. You've got two 12mm. Take this nut off. Take this nut off. Take the bolt out. I had to put the shifter into reverse to get enough clearance to get the bolt out of the left side. Once you hack into it, the grease factor is only about a 4.5. Had to go to the flat blade snap-on to pry that out. No match for it though. A wrench helped the rest of the way. I went with torque solution. Now, these are plastic and they're hard plastic, so they're definitely going to take up that slack and take up the space. A small brass hammer helped them in the rest of the way. You can also take a wrench and try and squeeze them in. There's a small metal insert that retains the bolt. Put the 12mm back with the bolt side to the left and the nut side is on the right. Tighten that back up good.
Oh wow, that's a huge difference. That is an enormous difference. There's neutral. There's a gear. There's neutral. That's awesome.
In my opinion, this rear shifter bushing has to be the weakest link in the whole entire system. The problem is, the arm that it's connected to needs to be taken off, so the front bushing can be done as well. Unfortunately, it's the hardest one to get to. There's not much clearance to work, and certain models will have heat shields in the way. You're going to have to get creative with your wrenches and your extensions. You're going to need to raise the car up and really secure it. You're going to need to go fully under the car for this one. Six 14mm bolts need to be removed for the transmission brace. The transmission will sag a little bit, but it's nothing that's going to hurt it. Or you can brace it with a stand to be safe. Go get yourself a 14mm swiveling head ratcheting wrench. This will help you out greatly in this job because there's not a lot of room there. Transmission bracket could have an O2 sensor attached. One 14mm for the front bushing, and there's two 12mm bolts holding in the rear bushing. Watch out for those heat shields. They are razor sharp, and you're going to need some finesse to get past that. Those two 12mm, they're not on there too bad. I mean, mine were crusted and rusted, and they came off pretty easily. It installs on the arm in this position. The torque solution kit contains two 13mm bolts that are longer to accompany the bushing. Those bolts were not on there tight, don't go He-Manning them in. The old front bushing can be pried out with a screwdriver, and the new 6-speed or 5-speed 2-piece bushings install without a problem. This is another area hard to get a torque wrench in, just run it down till it stops and don't go any further. Slide the transmission bracket back on and install the 614mm. The pivot bushings themselves helped out a lot of the movement. If you're intimidated by installing the rear bushing, definitely just do the pivot bushings. They're, in my opinion, one of the weak links in the system. The other weak link is definitely the rear bushing. I don't have to worry about mistaking a gear's wiggle for neutral anymore.
Let's do this. What was that flashing light?